criteria for choosing the microcontroller. So there are many applications are available that we can design with microcontroller. And before designing the applications, we have to select a particular microcontroller which fits into your applications, which fits into your requirement. So that may be an 8-bit microcontroller, that may be a 16-bit microcontroller, a 32-bit microcontroller made by various manufacturers like Intel, Motorola, Xilinx, okay, and Microchip, Atmel, like that. Many microcontrollers are available in the market. You have to select the microcontroller depending on your requirement. So, and the next one is going to be meeting the computing needs, meeting the computing needs of the task at hard efficiently and cost effectively. It should work very fastly, and the packaging should be like you may be searching for a dual inline package IC for your application. You should not choose anything else. I mean, other than that, you should not choose. Okay, and it should consume less power, and it should have more RAM, more ROM. Okay, you have to look into all these sort of parameters before selecting the microcontrollers. The first one is speed and packaging, power consumption, amount of RAM and ROM, and the number of I/O pins. For your application, let us suppose the number of I/O ports required are only one. You may choose a microcontroller having only one I/O port, or else you may choose two microcontroller with two I/O ports or three I/O ports. That depends on your requirement. Okay, so not less than one I/O port, and you have to consider one thing: how easy to upgrade to higher performance or lower consumption versions. So means this is another very important parameter which you have to consider in selecting the microcontroller. How easy it is to upgrade to the higher performance or lower power consumption versions, so that you have to consider before choosing the microcontroller. And the last and maybe the important parameter is the cost per unit. So you have to get all the good features in a very less amount of money, invest less and get more. So if that is your requirement, you have to choose the microcontroller according to your requirement. And you have to see, today you are using one software, tomorrow that software, the tool may be getting outdated. So you have to look into the availability of the software development tools such as compilers, assemblers, and debuggers before selecting the microcontroller. And wide availability and reliable sources of the microcontroller. So let us suppose one microcontroller is not working. You can choose another company microcontroller, but let us suppose the 8051 family has the largest number of diversified suppliers. You have to choose a microcontroller such that suppliers are more, but the microcontroller is same. So, right? Intel is manufacturing the same microcontroller. Atmel is manufacturing 8051 microcontroller. So you have to look into this particular parameter also. So wide availability and reliable sources of the microcontroller, and availability of the software development tools such as compilers, assemblers, and debuggers. So these things you just have to consider before purchasing the microcontroller. In market, you may get 8-bit microcontrollers, 16-bit microcontrollers, and 32-bit microcontrollers. You have to look into their features also. Those features also should fit into your requirement. You want 128 bytes of RAM. You should not choose a microcontroller offering only 64 bytes. you may choose 256 bytes RAM version of that microcontroller. Okay, so let us suppose for your application you require one port, one IO port. You may choose a microcontroller having four IO ports or two IO ports, but at least one IO port. Okay, so these are the criteria in selecting the microcontroller. Okay, so once again, in market you may be getting different microcontrollers like 8-bit microcontroller, 16-bit microcontroller, 32-bit microcontroller. So word length you have to consider before purchasing the microcontroller. And the next thing is speed, meeting the computing needs of the task at hand efficiently and cost effectively. Speed, packaging, it should work very fastly, and packaging type should fit into your requirement. And power consumption, that microcontroller should consume less amount of power, and you should have the required amount of RAM, ROM, and IO ports, timers, and it should be upgradable to the higher performance and low power consumption versions, and cost per unit should be less, and availability of the software development tools such as compilers, assemblers, and debuggers. So that should be the next criteria in selecting the microcontroller. Wide availability and reliable sources of the microcontroller, like different companies of manufacturing the same microcontroller, you should go with that type of microcontroller instead of monotonic microcontroller. Okay, thank you very much.